Hi readers, Lee here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my weekend books. Now I've got to say, up until this afternoon, I wasn't particularly excited about doing my weekend books this week because I had a major disappointment with my first batch of books, and then everything kind of tumbled together the past yesterday evening and then today, and I ended up being excited to do this. This may be a long one, and it will end with a disappointment, and maybe I'll learn a lesson from it, but I doubt it. Anywho, so I'm not going to go into how I got to all these, maybe. But we'll start with the smallest. That is sort of how they are ordered. I've got smallest to largest, and then the disappointment at the end. First off, Nora Roberts' Gabriel's Angel. I bought this as a Christmas in July section. I had a bit of a rough start in July. Yeah, somehow it seems like my months are kind of starting rough, and then I get momentum and I find good book after good book after good book. But Nora Roberts I can always count on. And this was published in, oh Lord, I don't have my glasses, so this will be interesting. This was first published in 1989. So there could be some cringe factor here. I'll let it slide if there is. All artist Gabriel Bradley wants is solitude to work on his painting and recover from the loss of his brother. But when a very pregnant and very beautiful woman ends up at his remote cabin during a blizzard, desperate, alone, and on the run, the modern-day Scrooge can't bring himself to turn her away. Despite her intrusion, Laura brings Gabriel the gifts of passion, hope, and life. He just needs to find the courage to reach for them. Anywho, Nora is always a winner, even if it's dated, that she offers some stability that I can count on. Next up, so I took myself out to lunch today. Didn't have anything to read with me, so because I didn't plan on going to lunch, I planned to just go to Yankee Candle, but anyway, here we are. So I was scrolling social media while I was eating, and I came across this book as one of the most read of the 2024 Reading Challenge. I've looked at it, and I looked at the reviews on Goodreads, and they are below 4. They're like 3.5 to 3.8, I'm not sure. The same for the next book. But my big disappointment told me, fuck Goodreads ratings, because sometimes they are elevated for books that just do not work for me. I like the premise of this, Bunny by Mona Awad, and I'm going to give it a shot. Maybe I'll love it, maybe I'll hate it, maybe it'll be a DNF. But I will no longer rely on Goodreads. I'm going to rely on, my own thoughts about it, the premise of the book, and then I'm going to try to look at first pages. So in Bunny, a scholarship, which people seem to either love or hate, a scholarship student who prefers the company of her dark imagination to that of most people, #same, Samantha Heather Mackey is utterly repelled by the rest of her graduate fiction writing cohort at New England's elite Warren University, a clique of unbearably saccharine yet sinister rich girls who call each other Bunny and seem to move and speak as one. But everything changes when Samantha receives an invitation to the Bunny's fabled smut salon and finds herself inexplicably drawn to their front door, ditching her only friend Ava in the process. As Samantha plunges deeper and deeper into the Bunny's world and begins to take part in their monstrous experiments, the edges of reality begin to blur. Soon, her friendships with Ava and the Bunnies will be brought into deadly collision. So, I'm looking forward to this. I've heard good things about it. I don't know anything about the author. Never read anything by her before, but this also seems like a good book to read in between Christmas books this month. Oh, by the way, there is something else I'm going to be doing this month and for the rest of the year probably. Tune in tomorrow for my author spotlight, and I will tell you how I am revisiting a favorite author of mine. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program. I have been on the fence about this book for ages and ages, and every time I go in the bookstore, I look at it and I put it down. But again, my disappointment led me to distrust Goodreads readings, and since I've always wanted this book, I bought This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal, sorry, there's got a sticker over that, Amal, El-Mohtar, and Max Gladstone. I do look forward to this. In the ashes of a dying world, Red finds a letter marked "Burn Before Reading." So begins an unlikely correspondence between two rival agents in a war that stretches through the vast reaches of time and space. Red belongs to the agency, a post-singularity technotopia. Blue belongs to Garden, a single, vast consciousness embedded in all organic matter. Their pasts are bloody and their futures mutually exclusive. They have nothing in common, save that they're the best and alone. And they're alone. Now what began as a battlefield boast grows into a dangerous game, one both Red and Blue are determined to win, because winning's what you do in a war, isn't it? Then it's called a tour de force collaboration from two powerhouse writers that spans the whole of time and space. Apparently, this is a sapphic time travel fantasy love story that never stops surprising, according to Booklist. So this could have been a good Pride Month. And I looked at this, picked it up, and put it down during Pride Month because, again, Goodreads ratings. This is one I hope my gut is right on. I'll let you know. Now, you see that sticker that's coming off right now? Buy one, get one 50. So, because I went in for this and Bunny, and a book that I had pre-ordered online, I had to, and this was buy one, get one 50, and Bunny was not, I had to get another buy one, get one 50. And I looked around really quickly. I was trying to get back home, but I settled on Ring by Kōji Suzuki. It's hard to read in all this. That sticker is coming off now too. Now, many of you know Ring. If you like horror movies, the movie Ring was based, I believe, on this book. Yes, the movies were based on this book. And I wish I had my glasses because all this stripes and stuff make it difficult to read. So if you don't know, if you've never watched the Ring movies or you don't know the story, here's what it says. A mysterious videotape warns that the viewer will die in 1 week unless a certain unspecified act is performed. Exactly 1 week after watching the tape, 4 teenagers die one after another of heart failure. Asakawa, a hard-working journalist, is intrigued by his niece's inexplicable death. His investigation leads him from a metropolitan Tokyo teeming with modern society's fears to a rural Japan, a mountain resort, a volcanic island, and a countryside clinic. Haunted by the past, sorry, my phone's right there and it made a noise and scared me. His attempt to solve the tape's mystery before it's too late, for everyone, assumes an increasingly deadly urgency, period. Ring is a chillingly told horror story, a masterfully suspenseful mystery, and a postmodern trip. Kōji Suzuki is based in Tokyo, but spends most of his time traveling. I read that as it reads most of his time traveling, but I read it as but spends most of his time traveling, like time traveling, most of his time traveling. Anywho, okay, next time I'll make sure I have my glasses here. So the next book is one I had not even intended to read it was not on my radar at all, but my colleagues and I were talking about books at work last week, and First Blood by David Morrell came up. My colleague had just read it. He said it was really good. We've all seen the movies, right? It's been ages. I might have to rewatch the Rambo movie. But I have been lately, Ring Here, First Blood, The Stepford Wives that I read last month. I've been increasingly reading books that had movies based on them later on, and this is no exception. So in First Blood, first came the man, a young wanderer in a fatigued coat and long hair. Then came the legend. As John Rambo sprang from the pages of First Blood to take his place in an American cultural landscape, this remarkable novel pits a young Vietnam veteran against a small-town cop who doesn't know whom he's dealing with or how far Rambo will take him into a life-and-death struggle through the woods, hills, and caves of rural Kentucky. This has an interview with the author. I wonder if he ever served or if he was just a literary guy. Well, it's got an interview. Maybe it'll tell us. I'm not going to sit here and read this right in front of you, even though I hope to get through this in July, if not early August. My July is already filling right up. So, I think it was yesterday, or anyway, the day I made the big mistake in the Barnes & Noble, I also picked up this book. I don't think this book is a mistake. I think it is fascinating. It should be a fascinating read. It's a memoir, and it goes along with my nonfiction studies, and that is Storm of Steel, the classic memoir of World War I combat. It's a translation. First of all, I love this cover. I don't know. This one I will not get to in July. Absolutely not. Maybe this year. So there does not much of, except for that it's a memoir, there's not much said about this except for a very brief paragraph. 2 paragraphs. A worldwide bestseller published shortly after the end of World War I, Storm of Steel is a memoir of astonishing power, savagery, and ashen lyricism. It illuminates not only the horrors, but also the fascination of total war as seen through the eyes of an ordinary German soldier. And I'll just leave that at that, because I've got a lot more books to talk about. I don't know how the next book came on my radar, but I ordered it from Amazon because they didn't have it at Barnes & Noble. I believe this is a new release. That is Masquerade by Sangoyomi. First of all, gorgeous. Look at that. I love a book with a map inside. I love the elephant there. I am really looking forward to reading this book. Map on the backside. This is going to be difficult for me to read, but this is set in 15th century West Africa. It's kind of like a fantasy, I believe. Adodo's hometown of Timbuktu has been conquered by the warrior king of Yoruba land, and living conditions for the women in her blacksmith guild, who are already shunned as social pariahs, grow even worse. Then, Adodo is abducted. She is whisked across the Sahara to the capital city of Sengote. Sorry, I don't have my glasses, and I can't read very well. Where she is shocked to discover that her kidnapper is none other than the vagrant who had visited her guild just days prior. But now that he is swathed in riches rather than rags, Adodo realizes he's not a vagrant at all. He's the warrior king, and he has chosen her to be his wife. In a sudden change of fortune, Adodo soars to the very heights of society, but after a lifetime of subjugation, she finds the power that saturates this world of battle and political savvy too enticing to resist. As tensions with rival states grow, revealing elaborate schemes and enemies hidden in plain sight, Adodo must defy the cruel king she has been forced to wed by reforging the shaky loyalties of the court in her favor or risk losing everything, including her life. I really, first of all, gorgeous cover, gorgeous in pages, gorgeous book. It's going to go up on the to read soon, hopefully. The next two books are part of my Nightworms prescription, and I don't know anything about this. One of them is a short story collection by Bora Chung. It's Your Utopia. I believe I have Cursed Bunny. It might have come in another Nightworms package. I am not sure. I do not know when I will get this. I am still reading You Like It Darker by Stephen King because I don't sit down and read stories back to back to back. I've tried reading a story between other books, and I'm not always successful. So I'm not sure when I'll get to this, but there you have it. The next one is a new release, I believe. That is The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monika Kim. Ji-won's life tumbles into disarray in the wake of her appa's extramarital affair and subsequent departure. Her mother, distraught. Her younger sister, hurt and confused. Her college freshman grades, failing. Her dreams, horrifying, yet enticing. In them, Ji-won walks through bloody rooms full of eyes, succulent blue eyes, salivatingly blue eyes, eyes the same shape and shade as George's, who is Uma's obnoxious new boyfriend. He brags about his puffed-up consulting job, ogles Asian waitresses while dining out, and acts condescendingly toward Ji-won and her sister, as if he deserves all of Uma's fawning adoration. George doesn't deserve anything from her family. Ji-won will make sure of that. For no matter how many victims accumulate around her campus, or how many people she must deceive and manipulate, Ji-won's hunger and her rage deserve to be sated. This sounds actually pretty good. There's the lights changing outside. This one might get read real soon. Okay. This is one of the books that I went into the Barnes & Noble to get when I made my big mistake. It was not the same day as Bunny. It was this was the book I went into the Barnes & Noble to get when I made the big mistake. And that is the Rom-Commers by Katherine Center. Because I realized I had made a mistake and bought some books that really weren't for me, this one now has a negative connotation in my feelings. It's probably not in reality. But I'm going to try to, get some distance from that experience and then come back to this book, which is not related to those other two books. So I don't know why I should blame this book for them being bad. Anywho, Emma Wheeler desperately longs to be a screenwriter. She spent her life studying, obsessing over, and writing romantic comedies. Good ones that win contests. But she's also been the sole caregiver for her kind-hearted dad, who needs full-time help. Now, when she gets the chance to rewrite a script for the famous screenwriter Charlie Yates, her personal writing god, it's a break too big to pass up. Emma's younger sister steps in for dad duty, and Emma moves to LA for 6 weeks for the writing gig of a lifetime. But what is it they say? Don't meet your heroes? Charlie Yates doesn't want to write with anyone, much less a failed nobody screenwriter. Worse, the romantic comedy he's written is so terrible, it might actually bring on the apocalypse. Plus, he doesn't even care about the script. It's just a means to get a different one greenlit. Oh, and he thinks love is an emotional Ponzi scheme. But Emma's not going down without a fight. She will stand up for herself, and for rom-coms, and for love itself. She will convince Charlie that love stories matter, even if she has to kiss him senseless to do it. But what if that kiss is accidentally amazing? What if real life turns out to be so much more than fiction? more real than fiction? What if the love story they're writing breaks all of Emma's rules and comes true? Something to think about. I hope this is good. I'm sorry that I bought it with some books that were not so good for me. Okay, so today, the reason I went to the Barnes & Noble before I scrolled social media and found out I needed to buy Bunny and How to Lose, This Is How You Lose the Time War, not on social media, but I had an alert on my phone about a new book that came out called Mr. Churchill and the White House by Robert Schmuhl, the untold story of a prime minister and two presidents. You know, I'm a World War II, World War I buff, so this fits right in there. I pre-ordered this, I ordered this online for pickup in store while I was at lunch, and I had to kill time, which is how I ended up scrolling social media. Anywho. So basically, I'm not going to read you this because I want to spend some time talking about my big mistake, but this is about Churchill's visit to the White House from his first visit in 1941 to his last one 18 years later, and I look forward to reading about it, referring to it in my studies, and maybe in 2025 I will find a way to kind of focus my studies a little bit more and incorporate them here. Sorry, I've got to keep separate the books that I have not added to my library, my app on my phone. So, next book was my book of the month selection. I am excited about this. I am not sure. Next book I'm gonna read is a Christmas book. This one may go right after that. I'm not sure. That is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. This is also one of B&N's recommended books. This has got a lot of hype. I hope that it does not. I hope it lives up to the hype. It's got short chapters. That's a plus for me. Early morning, August 1975. A camp counselor discovers an empty bunk. Its occupant, Barbara Van Laar, has gone missing. Barbara isn't just any 13-year-old. She's the daughter of the family that owns the summer camp and employs most of the region's residents. And this isn't the first time a Van Laar child has disappeared. Barbara's older brother similarly vanished 14 years ago, never to be found. That's intriguing. As a panicked search begins, a thrilling drama unfolds, chasing down the layered mysteries of the Van Laar family and the blue-collar community living and working in its shadow. Moore's multi-threaded story invites readers into a rich and gripping dynasty of secrets. I'm definitely looking forward to reading this. I will read it soon because I've got to tell my colleague how I feel about it. So finish up what I'm reading, Christmas book, then The God of the Woods. So hopefully by this coming up weekend, I'll be on to this one. I will let you know. Okay, it is time for the big disappointment. Y'all, I know I have not talked a lot about it here on YouTube this year, but I love fantasy. I love an epic fantasy that just really pulls you into the world, and I keep looking for something that will do that for me. And I thought I found it in Theft of Swords. I picked up this and the two other books in the series that are both huge, and started reading it on Friday night, and I got 55 pages in. I might have pushed through to 60. I don't think I did. I got like 55 pages in, and I noped the fuck out. Why? It's written in a way, for me, that is a little too modern. That is probably not the right way to describe it. It is simplistic. It's a little bit elementary. While I appreciate that the language is accessible, it's almost too accessible. It just felt very amateur to me. And I hate to say that. I feel that that's rude to say, but that is how it felt to me. And I thought about pushing through because this had 4.5 and higher ratings on Goodreads. All of the books did, and it just was not that for me. And I finally realized that if someone like this can get published, then why can't I? Probably because I don't write anything. But I could not with this. And it made me sad and mad because it's got a great premise, but everything was just too simple. Like, I've read YA books that are more elevated. And this felt like the dialogue in it part of it was show, don't tell. And this author told a lot. For example, they do this robbery, and then they come home, meet with their partners in crime. They didn't participate in the robbery, and they talk through how they did it. Leave something to mystery. I was thinking that when basically it was too much. It was too much on the page that should not have been there, I don't think. Anywho, I'll tell you what this is about. Some people loved it. A lot of people loved it. I did not love it. The writing style was just a miss for me. And I'm not happy about this. I'm really sad because I wanted to fall into a trilogy that was really great. Royce Melbourne, a skilled thief, and his mercenary partner, Hadrian Blackwater, make a profitable living carrying out dangerous assignments for conspiring nobles until they are hired to pilfer a famed sword. What appears to be just a simple job finds them framed for the murder of the king and trapped in a conspiracy that uncovers a plot far greater than the mere overthrow of a tiny kingdom. Can a self-serving thief and an idealistic swordsman survive long enough to unravel the first part of an ancient mystery that has toppled kings and destroyed empires? I hoped so. I wanted to find out what the ancient mystery was, but now I don't care. You know, I read a book last month that was started on Reddit and ended up being published. And it should have been. It was great. It was fantastic. This was not started on Reddit. The author started it for himself, self-published, and a lot of people loved it, but it was a total miss for me. This seemed like fanfic, is all I could say, and poorly written fanfic. I don't want to be insulting anymore. I hate to do that, but that series and the fact that I bought it and it was such a disappointment really kind of soured the day for me. Anywho, I hate to end on a sad note. That is my week in books. It was overwhelmingly really great with just one disappointment. Now I'm excited about some of these books again. Can't wait to get to First Blood. Interested in reading about The Eyes of the Best Part. Can't wait for Bunny or The Time War and Masquerade. Beautiful book. But soon, I'm going to find out who the God of the Woods is. And that is it for me. Tomorrow I've got my author spotlight on a special author I will tell you about, and kind of something I'm going to be doing for the rest of the year probably. And that should be it for the week, and I'll see you next week after that, where I say I'm not going to buy any books every week, but we'll see what happens. Oh, I do have some coming in that I have already purchased, and they'll come in next week. Anywho, that's all for me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of these books, and I'd love to hear what you're reading down in the comments. Happy reading!